Let's go back to one of our breaking news stories on all angles now. The former International Relations Minister, Ebrahim Ebrahim, passing away. And to share his memories is anti-apartheid stalwart Ronnie Kasrils, who joins us now virtually. Thank you very much, Mr. Kasrils, for your time. Just first of all, Uncle Ebi, how do you think he'd feel about the state of the country and the state of the liberation movement and how it is today?
Well, I was with him very recently, and we were talking about his life, his commitment, and of course the situation today, which he found absolutely appalling, absolutely dismayed. But at the same time, one needs to bear in mind that we overthrew apartheid, and that wasn't an end in itself. It was a great victory, and he played an incredible role in that. But the question now is how to resort and react to current challenges. And I'm afraid a lot of that depends on the younger generation in their love for real freedom, equality, non-racism, and justice for all, which was what his whole life was about. It was a life of great courage and moral integrity. And I could say something about that in terms of how my own freedom escape from the clutches of the security police back in 1963 was because of his commitment and the way he put service and the question of moral integrity as first and foremost in his life, which gave him enormous courage. Because when they got him in their clutches, they knew they were one step away from me, and that he had just left me, and they beat him senseless because he just would not open his mouth. It wasn't love of me, it was commitment to comradeship, it was a commitment to the struggle, a commitment to the morality that was imbued in him. And so again, when he was abducted from Swaziland after having served 15 years on Robben Island for the underground, and I was there with him in Swaziland again with many others, and he was abducted and they beat him yet again. They tortured him mercilessly, wanting to extract from him information that could lead him to the rest of us. And again, he just would not give them the answers that they required. It was a commitment to the cause, and in a sense, it's the commitment that kept him going right through his life, because that perilous situation he was in, both in 63 and 86, arises in many different ways where morality counts, integrity counts, and he always remained true to that, true to service to the people. That's the legacy he leaves our country, our people with.
And Mr. Kasrils, looking at how the Liberation Party that he joined, that he so believed in terms of, the Freedom Charter and everything else that was promised to South Africans. But this liberation movement was what, played a pivotal role in his life as well. How did he feel? Did you guys discuss anything at all about how he felt about the performance of the ANC in the recent local government elections?
Well, he was dismayed, and he wasn't surprised or astonished. This was something that he expected. Unfortunately, saw this was going to happen because the extent to which corruption had crept into the ANC. He remained loyal to the ANC. He believed that the ANC had to rejuvenate. So he never gave up on the ANC, but of course was extremely unhappy with performances of those rotten apples within the ANC who had brought it to this particular state. He still had that loyalty and commitment and didn't like to raise his voice publicly, but rather within the movement and to comrades. It was that kind of loyalty. Let me say yet again, he does and he did to his dying day believe that the ANC could be rejuvenated. It's something I had my differences with him about. We could speak openly with each other and truthfully. But yes, like the rest of us, very, very unhappy with the lack of delivery, with the unemployment, the economic problems, and he saw the corruption and the self-service of those within leadership, not everybody, of course, who had brought it down. And this related to a lifelong friend of his in who he served, and that's Jacob Zuma. But he didn't want to speak out. He thought that it was key to the need to commit to the revival of the cause and the ideals of liberation.
So you've described, a person who, stayed true to the liberation struggle, who stayed true to the promises of comrades, the promises that comrades made to each other back in those days. And you've just described somebody who was very quiet in terms of, not very quiet, but who didn't come out in public in terms of the problems that the ANC has, but stayed very loyal to them. How do you want young South Africans to remember him? Somebody who's waking up this morning and finding out that we had a struggle stalwart in Ebrahim Ebrahim and is Googling right now. How would you want the young South Africans to remember him?
Well, it's precisely what I tried to discuss, excuse me, earlier. It's the moral integrity, the honesty above everything. He upheld that morality, the quest for truth and justice in a courageous manner in the most perilous situations to his very life, and in the everyday sense as well. And a belief that we South Africans could overcome the difficulties and the problems, objective ones as well as the subjective, caused by a rottenness amongst some people who are in key positions or have been, and who just want to serve their own interests. Serve your country, your people, as best you can. Don't put personal, material interests and greed above the common good. This is a key to the life of those like Mandela and Sisulu and Joe Slovo and Ruth First and Ebrahim Ismail. That is what the youth should follow. Be true to yourself, be true to others. That is the way of real justice and pursuit of what is good for everybody, for a better life for all.
Thank you so much for your time. That was apartheid stalwart Ronnie Kasrils paying homage to the late Ebrahim Ebrahim.